Welcome to The Road Beyond. I'm Todd Duplantis. Thanks for joining us tonight. Boy, we've got a special evening lined up for you. Some special guests joining us in just a moment, but my co-host and producer, Scotty Berrett, joins us. Scotty, good to see you.
Okay, good evening. Good evening, Todd.
We have got a great show lined up, everybody. If you like aliens, you like the subject of UFOs, alien abductions, and much more, all that on the show. Before we get to that, Scotty, I want to talk about a couple of things that have been in the news over the last week. And the main thing, we called it a few weeks ago. It was going to happen. It was a matter of time. They tried to stop him from doing it. But congratulations goes out to Elon Musk because it looks like that sale of Twitter is going through and he's now the new owner. This is a good thing for free speech, huh?
$43 billion.
Yeah, closer. I think it's closer to $44 billion. Amazing, though. Stock shares going up a little bit today. It'll be interesting to see what they're going to continue going on. I think they went up about $2 a share. They're around $52 a share right now. It'll be interesting to see over the next month or two if they continue going up or if they start going down again. Traditionally, this hasn't been a good stock to purchase.
No, it hasn't. And quite frankly, there are so many more competitors out there in the social media realm that Twitter may actually lose followers because of this issue.
Well, a lot of people are just losing their minds because of the sale of Twitter. You know, oh no, who's going to protect us from the censors that we desperately need? Free speech just scares the heck out of everybody, Scotty.
I think there shouldn't be censorship. As a matter of fact, let's go for frontal nudity. There
you go. Let it all happen on Twitter. We'll have to see what happens there, but a lot of things changing on Twitter. Another big thing didn't make national news, but it may one day. Who knows? But last week on our show, we had Amanda Thomas, who's known as Murder Geek 7. She's got a following on TikTok. And Scotty, since our show, her followers have nearly doubled in the last week. It's incredible.
Right now, she has 91,000. By the end of the night, she'll have 93,000.
Right.
She started before us, which is 49,000. Yeah. One of her shows got 2 million views.
That's insane.
2 million views.
If you are on TikTok, we have a new page on TikTok, and I have been posting some things over the past week, mainly some of the stories that we do during the Road Beyond podcast and the weird, unique stories that we cover. I've been posting those on TikTok. So go to our TikTok. We need the followers, okay? Amanda, show us some love. I know she always retweets or resends out our stuff, but anyway, check out our TikTok page. It's at Road Beyond Podcast, all lowercase. You can find us on TikTok. Brand new channel there, and you can find updated content pretty much on a daily basis. So, Scotty, we've got a great show. Nathan, can we roll that special video to kind of set the tone for tonight? So this was when the disclosure video was announced a while back. UFOs now being called UAPs. The government put out a document, a whole bunch of nothing with that document. But we've got an expert on the show, one of our favorite guests who's been here before. We're talking about the alien hunter himself, Derrel Sims. He's been poring over some research lately, the strange and otherworldly metals and apparent control devices we see in the hands of otherworldly characters, which have been displayed on walls, on tombs, carved into rock throughout our history. Derrel, it's good to see you on the show tonight. Good to have you with us back on the Road Beyond.
I'm delighted to be here. This is going to be a great show.
So I want to ask you about some of the research you've been doing lately, particularly it looks like you've been doing some research into metals, and I know we're showing a number of these images people are going to get to see tonight. Tell us some of the things that you're poring over right now.
We're looking at several different metals that have been expelled by UFOs. Now, these three particular metals, two of them have been scientifically studied, but all of the three metals have witnesses showing that the metals were expelled by UFOs themselves.
Let me ask you this, Derrel. I know in your previous research, you've worked with a surgeon to remove foreign objects out of people that possibly your theory could have been implanted in them. Are these type of metals the same thing that you're pulling out of people?
Interestingly enough, the metals, the other objects that we're removing from people, some of them are metal, some of them are not, some of them are plastic-like material, some are ceramic-like material, some are several other things that we're not ready to say yet, but they're not metal. So we're really amazed at the complexity of the alien implant phenomena.
Derrel, where are you getting these metals? Are people coming forward with these? Are you finding them across the world? Are there any commonalities? Are there cluster areas where you find these samples?
Fascinatingly enough, the three metals were, one was found in the mid part of the country. The second one, 30 years later, was found in Ohio. The last one that I got just recently received came from California, again with witnesses.
And when you're taking these metals, you're sending them off for independent research where they're analyzing it. What are some of the things they're noticing about these metals?
Some of the things we notice about the metals is the unusual elements in them, such as the isotopic ratios, first of all, showing that they're off-world. Second thing is iridium, elements that you can't mix in these. And these three particular metals, they're aluminum-like metal. There's no question about that. But the unusualness of the metal itself, in two of the cases from universities, suggests that they're made off-world.
So these are not metals that are made in any natural way. These are ones that are combined, similar to that we combine steel or iron or something like that.
The metals are quite unique in as much as they appear to be made in a vacuum and on an atomic level. So this kind of throws it out of our hands, so to speak.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Is this something that could be replicated on Earth? And is it something that we could back engineer?
I have two answers for that question. One is I'm not really sure that we're going to completely back engineer, quote unquote, alien stuff, alien technology, if you will. I think we can hint at it. We can get close to it in some respects, like different types of metals that have been retrieved by the government out of Roswell is a good example.
Well, that's what I was going to get to with the metals at Roswell. Have you had a chance? I know, for example, Art Bell, years ago, a wonderful radio host, certainly somebody all of us looked up to, had said that he had something he believes a viewer had sent in was a piece of metal that came from Roswell. Have you had a chance to see anything that's been told this comes from Roswell? Have you had a chance to see any of the research that's been done on that?
I did a fascinating little experiment at Roswell this last year. I've spoken there 23 years in a row. And that particular thing was a scientist who's got pieces of metal that he thinks are part of the Roswell crash, or one of the crash at Corona as an example. We had an abductee hold those particular pieces of metal, and the abductee threw them back on the table, was frightened. And then we used a black light and a specialized FLIR to review the metals as we looked at them, and they appeared to be changing color and heat temperatures while they were on the table.
Scotty,
I know you had found some pictures of carvings that.
Yeah, let's
and I've seen those as well.
Yeah, let's look at these carvings. These carvings of a ancient holding what appears to be a pine cone. Like, is this like a mouse or a controller or an iPhone? What do you suspect this is?
Well, in my view, the idea that it might be a mouse or something like that, I hear these different ideas, and my answer to that is no, simply because where's the cell phone tower, so to speak? I mean, there's nothing, there's no way to communicate. I mean, there's a little humor there. That's number one. Number two is that the pine cone item that you see in various carvings around the world, and I've been to India and actually have seen the same thing in India in their museum. And this represents something completely different on a personal level. It actually symbolizes the mystical or the hidden thing, particularly the pineal gland, and it's a symbol for supreme knowledge and mysticism.
Derrel, along those same lines.
So it's more, yeah.
Go ahead, Scott.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say along those.
I'm interested in. Sure, go ahead.
Along those same lines, with the Sumerian carving, I believe, and one in the Mayan carving, one thing that I think that Graham Hancock noticed, and this might be what you were referencing, it also appears that they're carrying what it looks like a small purse. And you have them in the Sumerian gods, but you also have in the Mayan gods. And we're talking about civilizations on the opposite ends of the earth at different times, no contact with each other, allegedly. Where do they get these type of commonalities when they're carving a god of theirs or something they worship into a stone?
In my opinion, some of the best answers for that remarkably good question is simply that they're meeting the same entities.
Across time.
The nations aren't connecting with each other. The
right.
entities are connecting with that.
I mean, and you also...
Now, Derrel,
go ahead, Scotty.
Now, Derrel, you've also discovered this mysterious memory metal compound called nitinol. What is that?
Well, basically, it's the best way to... I should have brought it with me, but the fact is I've got a portion of it. It's basically, in my opinion, a back-engineered attempt to duplicate Roswell's material. I don't think that you can completely back-engineer the Roswell crash and the materials, and the reason is because my thesis is that the materials, the metals, as the example of the piece of the UFO, is actually interactive with the alien. So the problem is, even if you can back and engineer part of the metals, and I think we have, you still have a missing link. Where are you going to get the alien to manipulate the metals? If you had an alien there and put that metal in his hand, so to speak, you're going to see some remarkably interesting stuff go on.
Derrel, I also wanted to get into the subject of abductions. And I wanted to touch on something we've covered on this show extensively and discussed it in many episodes, but the cases of people that are disappearing. And it's at an alarming rate. And you're familiar with David Paulides and his work he does with the Can-Am Project in 411. Some of the commonalities of the people that have disappeared in national parks, he's noticed in the reports that they have been able to make a phone call either right before they disappear or while something is happening to them. And one of the common things they notice is the call cuts off like that, and there appears to be wind blowing, and they have a hard time speaking because of the wind that's blowing. And it's been theorized by many that these people could be traveling through air, being sucked into a dimension, whatever's going on. There's a lot of it going on. Could abductions be a possibility with these disappearances?
Well, that is a big concern of a lot of people I've spoken to. I know David very well, and he's a good man. The wind feature of this phenomena may be due to, and again, some people don't think they're being taken up. They think they're being taken down. But the point is that they're being moved apparently rapidly, and there's a wind effect there. That really is a startling find, in my opinion.
And from what they're finding is they're finding these people in either the location where they've been searching for days, that they've combed over with search groups, with a fine tooth comb, pin marked to these locations, and they're missing someone, yet they find them days after in the middle of this location, or they find children inexplicably 10, 20 miles away from where they disappeared in an impossible time since their disappearance, where the child could not make it to that location, thinking that they've been abducted and dropped off or taken by somebody and replaced in these positions. Is that what you found in talking with Paulides about this?
That is an accurate description, in my opinion. The second thing I would like to note is that I've talked to David about me working with him to do memory recovery on these rare few people who come back but have absolutely no memory. It's completely wiped. And I want to see if I can be able to retrieve memory, because I think we're going to find huge hints if we can recover that memory.
Well, the weird thing about it is there was one case where a guy disappeared. His family assumed he was dead. He was gone for 2 years. Then he appears back again, alive, doesn't remember what happened. All he knows is he woke up in a field. And the people they're finding that they're having problems tying their shoelaces. They're having problems speaking. You know, it's like their memory has been taken and placed back. Some of them are even been found with their clothes on backwards.
This is a very common experience with abductions as well, particularly the clothing being altered and this sort of thing.
Well, one final question for you, because the subject fascinates me. David does a lot of incredible research in reading his books and hearing him on programs, and he's got a wonderful YouTube channel as well. He knows, it seems like and people get on his case because it seems like he knows what's going on, but he never he gives you the facts. He never makes assumptions as to what's going on. Could it be a portal that they're disappearing in? Could they be abducted by aliens? But one thing I do know with a number of these cases is the FBI shows up. They usually don't show up for missing people. The FBI shows up, and then also the military has shown up for some of these cases. And my question to you, Derrel, there's a lot more going on to this than we're being led to believe.
Well, I totally agree with that. In fact, as an example, at the Skinwalker Ranch, the new owner that bought that ranch, Bigelow finally admitted that the United States government authorized a black project for 5 years and spent tens of millions of dollars on that ranch, and they never revealed a thing in the world about what they found.
Well, speaking of cover-ups, I want to ask you about there's been a major resistance and even disinformation about what the government has or what they know and what they've been telling us. And one particular individual, Lou Elizondo, you've talked with him. Maybe you can tell us a bit about his story, because it's a pretty fascinating one, but it's terrible how the government goes out of their way to really try to place someone in a bad light.
Well, a lot of people in the UFO community talk about being the big shot in the UFO world in the government. I just don't believe 90% of that. Lou Elizondo is such a man. He's actually been there. He's been part of the team. And then he later quit because of differences that he had because a lot of people didn't want any kind of disclosure. And he's joined different organizations, and he finally quit those. I think he's going to make a play himself, use his own cards to come up with something that would be appropriate. He's, like me, as loyal as he can be. I've got a top trigger clearance as well. There are things you can't say. You have to be cleared for it. And I think he has things that he can say, and he will ultimately bring that in public eventually.
Scotty, I know you had some information.
The thing that they try to discredit this gentleman repeatedly, and what convinces me that he is the real deal was the testimony and the announcement by Senator Reed of Nevada, who has been deep into this, who verified that this gentleman did work for the government, wasn't involved in alien research, and quite frankly, statements that he was not kind of irks me as a journalist, because his credibility, well, look what he has brought us.
Well, Derrel, let me ask you this. I want to go back to the abductions, and I know you worked extensively with abductees. What are some of the harm that has come to these people? And I know you've had an experience personally with this in your childhood. What is something you live with all your life after these types of abductions?
Well, we've developed some remarkable statistics, and some of the more obvious things that you find with abductees is invisible marks. We call them UBMs.
Right.
Unidentified body marks that show up on these people, missing skin, scoop marks, severe bruisings, where the disturbed alien may have touched you in a particular way, hidden injuries discovered by medical personnel, broken ribs, broken bones from these people that there's no medical history of whatsoever.
Interesting.
And I've heard this back and forth on whether or not this is true, but maybe you can give me your opinion on this. Did our government at one time make a deal with aliens regarding abductions where they would allow it to happen as long as the people weren't killed?
I lived in Alamogordo, New Mexico during the so-called time of this treaty with the aliens out at Holloman Air Force Base. We did see a UFO out there in that area for about an hour or so. I was shocked that it was to stay there that long, but I don't know of any particular proof that I can offer that event actually happened. I suspect that if there was an opportunity to do that, they would certainly take it. But I would caution anybody with half a brain, you can't trust the alien. They're always going to have the upper hand. If they've offered you a deal, you already lost if you accept it.
And there's no way our government is going to come out to us. And I feel like this is the reason there's never been disclosure, is because the government is going to come out and tell us, yeah, there's something flying around in the sky. We've known about it for, the last 100 years or so, but there's not a damn thing we can do to protect you from it. So we're sorry, but that's just the way things are going to happen.
Ultimately, that is the truth of it, because originally, whenever the government decided to do something about the UFO phenomenon long ago, they had a policy set that basically was shoot first. They wanted them shot down. They wanted them stopped. We had 3 anti-aircraft batteries literally around the White Capitol building when the UFOs were there in 1952. Most people don't know this, but we actually thought we were being attacked by an alien presence. And I have the flight logs of those pilots, so I know what I'm talking about.
Well, in 1952, but there was also the Battle of Los Angeles. There had to be a lot more going on there than what we were led to believe. I mean, back in those days, Scotty can attest to this. Pictures were taken in newspapers. They were placed there, and then later they were retracted by the government. But the news made it out there first.
Well, the problem is that if the military or somebody like that, some responsible group gets in or finds a UFO at Roswell, they put it in the paper the next day and say, we found a flying disc.
Right.
The problem
like
is
they did with Roswell.
He calls them up and says, no, you didn't. You found a weather balloon. Tell everybody that. And that's how the whole story gets changed.
Very strategic. Scotty, you've seen stuff like that happen.
And I'm really wondering why the government is so afraid to come to us with full disclosure. Why are they frightened? What is their motivation? Why?
Well, they can't protect us from it. You can cause you can have pandemic. We talk about being in a pandemic. Wait till pandemonium happens, when people are going crazy in the streets, everybody's buying guns and shooting them up in the air because the government has no way of protecting you against the aliens. If they decided to invade us, there would be nothing we could do about it.
This is completely true. The DSP satellite program, this is over 18 geosynchronous satellites are pointed toward Earth, not space, but Earth. And they literally watch pretty much everything going on down here. A DSP satellite specialist told me that every abduction that we know about, every UFO, UAP, whatever, they call them fast walkers and slow walkers back then. Right. Every one of those are on record. So if you've been abducted and they came and got you, there's already a record of that by the government, and we simply don't know about it.
And if it's anything that's proven by the 1,500 pages that were released within a couple of months ago, everything that's in those reports is redacted. So you're not going to see anything either way once they release the information. I don't know if you had a chance to see those pages that came out.
I have, and interestingly enough, the injuries and things that they talk about in some of the writings there, we've known about this for a long time, and our information is far more accurate and involved than what they decided to tell you. I think that it's horrible that you have to go to the UFO community, people like me, and get the information because the government, who's got good information, simply will redact it or simply not tell you.
What about pregnancies by aliens? This is one of the strategies I'm sure they're using to create this whole persona that it is false. It is a wild story.
Well, I think you've hit on a really important thing. I call artificial insemination or like this on a human woman. In these particular cases, we have several of them. Actually, two of them in a hospital in Los Angeles and a hospital right here in Houston. And we have 26 claimed pregnancies or alleged pregnancy artificial inseminations by our abductees. We even have the sonograms of one of the entities in a woman. The point is that this is the worst type of implantation, in my opinion. Yeah. And it is, again,
it's a violation.
I think the government wants to admit to this. They can't protect these women.
Incredible. Derrel, always fascinating to speak with you. You have some incredible information. It's good to see you, my friend.
Thank you, Derrel. It's good to be here. Great show. Great show.
All right, Derrel, we look forward to seeing you again in the future. Thanks for being here. And if you're interested in finding out Derrel, what he's up to in social media, we'll post some links for you. You can find him as the Alien Hunter Derrel Sims. Thanks for being here, Derrel.
Thank you.
All right, Scotty, always fascinating, you know. A lot going on there.
I need to see an alien pregnancy test. That's what I.
Maybe you can show us some of those sonograms in the future as well.
Yeah, really.
One thing that's kind of concerning. It's you've probably seen these pictures of this next creature on Facebook. I know they popped up on internet ads. Take a look at this. It's beautiful. This is the blue dragon sea slug, and they look cute, don't they? They're tiny little slugs. You know, pick them up, maybe keep them in a fish tank. Don't touch them. Don't put them on your hand. They're poisonous, Scotty.
Well, you know, this is they are so poisonous. They will cause disorientation. They will cause a racing of the heart. They will cause
dermatitis. Inflammatory hyperpigmentation, meaning you're going to turn red.
This is one of the interesting things. The poison doesn't come from the slug itself. It comes from the Portuguese man of war that it feeds on. So it's using the poison from the Portuguese man of war.
So these slugs, they have a bright blue underbelly, softer silvery tone in their back. They come in all sizes from less than an inch to large as a handful. Don't put them in your hand. They'll make you sick. Blue dragons float on their back so the blue of their underside can blend in with the water while the gray blends in with the sea surface. They produce both sperm and ovum for procreation, but they must be fertilized by another blue dragon. That's a little bit too much information, but either way. One sting though, Scotty, can get you really, really sick. You know, why is this guy, look at him, he's holding it there.
Well, yeah. Sometimes you just can't fix stupid.
Well, here's the kicker here, folks. They were in Florida. Now they've been seen here in Texas. You said they're what, in the South
Padre, just off of Corpus Christi, Padre Island. And they were spotted during spring break by individuals.
I'm surprised they didn't find their way on TikTok. Maybe they will in the future. You know?
I put them on TikTok.
Scotty's going to put them on TikTok. Remember, we're on TikTok. Look for us as @RoadBeyond Podcast, all lowercase. Follow us. We place new videos on there just about daily, things you won't see here on the show. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter as the Road Beyond Podcast. We have a new Facebook group called the Road Beyond Podcast Fans. And you can follow me on Instagram at Todd Duplantis 65 for more updates. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Scotty, it's always good to see you. We're now on Mondays, right?
We're on Monday nights. And this is our 50th podcast.
Oh, yeah. We didn't get to mention that. That's excellent. 50th show. Good
50th show.
Hard to believe. Most podcasts don't even make it past a dozen shows. That's the statistics. And making it 50, that's a feat. So thanks to you. Thank you very much to Nathan, who's been here since the beginning. We certainly do miss our producer, Pete Haviland. Ike, we wish him the best of luck. He's chasing models and
we'll see Ike again. We'll see Ike again.
We'll see again, I'm sure. But thank you all for being here for our 50th show. Big deal. Scotty, we'll see you next week.
All right.
We'll see all of you next week as we travel down the road beyond. Take care.